Hi, welcome back. So in the previous video, we learned about the internal environment and its component and how those components and the dynamics affect the decision making of a manager. In this video, we are going to learn about the external environment. What this environment is, what are its components, how it affects the decision making in an organization. All of this we are going to learn in this video. So the external environment, as the name indicates, is a kind of an environment which is external to the organization. The institutions and the forces are outside the organization, and it affects the functioning of the firm in terms of the decision making, in terms of the policies which are being devised within an organization, are influenced by the factors which are being changed in the external environment. It comprises of two main components, one of which is the task environment, the other is the general environment. Let us learn each of these. Let's start with the task environment. The task environment is a industry-specific environment. It can also be understood as the microenvironment of an organization because it affects the decision of an organization directly. It is specific to industries and it is unique to different organizations because every organization has its different elements and its dynamics. So, because the factors are similar for the similar industries, it can affect the organizations differently in a manner because they are unique in themselves. An organization has to depend on these groups and institutions because they directly affect the functioning of an organization in terms of they act as a source of input for the organization, such as raw materials, such as information, such as different services that will be directly incorporated into the process of transformation. Moreover, the outputs, because the organization goods and services will be delivered, will be disseminated, will be sold to different stakeholders which are external to the organizations. Now, considering the changes in these external groups are definitely going to affect the decision making of a manager directly. So, it is very important to reflect upon the task environment. Since every industry is unique in its nature and its characteristics, that is why it is a specific that is why it is an industry specific environment and it does not apply to all industries. Something which is relevant to one of the industry and any changes in any of those factors is going to affect the decision making and the actions of a manager in an organization. The key components of this environment are the customers, suppliers, and its competitors. They are the main element that comprises of a task environment, and that is why it is unique to every industry. Every industry has its own demands and its supply which is being managed by the organization in terms of maintaining relationships between these stakeholders. Customer holds a very special place in an organization because ultimately the needs and demands of the market are the goal through which an organization functions. So customers hold a very special place for an organization as a stakeholder because the goods and services that an organization delivers based upon the identification of the need, the demand in the society. Now the people who are looking forward to the goods and services of an organization, their taste, their needs, their preferences are very important for an organization. So any change in any of those psychographics or any of that demographic factor related to the customers, the market in which the organization is going to serve, any changes in terms of the people who demands and who are going to ultimately consume the goods and services, or any shift in their demand is directly going to affect the functioning of an organization. An organization has to improvise the kind of changes that is being demanded by the market and the customers at large. So they are the very important stakeholder in terms of understanding a industry specific environment. The next is the competitors in the market. The industries which are offering the same product and services, or they deal in a similar nature of activities that an organization is serving to the customers, in addition to what are the different rules and regulations regarding the entry of the rivals or competitors, or how the attractiveness of an industry is. All of these factors are going to directly affect the organizational strategies because the marketing competitiveness, marketing trends, the number of competitors, the number of substitute products available in a market, all these are directly affecting the decision of an organization in terms of serving to the needs of the customers. So competitors are a very strong factor to understand the task environment and how they are going to affect the functioning of an organization. In addition to that, suppliers and distributors are another very important element of this task environment. Now, obviously, suppliers and distributors are specific. They are the one who are providing the raw materials. They are the one who are responsible for the inputs for any organization. The transformation process of inputs into the outputs are dependent upon the quality of raw material, the amount of raw material, the time at which the raw material is available, and all of this increases the competitiveness in the market. So it is very essential for organizations to keep a balanced rapport with the stakeholders and the suppliers, and they also many a time they have to upgrade and negotiate the terms and conditions with the suppliers for the purpose of maintaining that competitive edge in the market. So it's very important for a organization to respond on to customers, because they are the ultimate consumers of the goods and services that the organization is delivering. The number of competitors directly affect the decision making of an organization, because they are directly going to affect the strategies of an organization. And it is very important for an organization to remain aware with the number of competitors for strategic planning, and the suppliers and distributors which are responsible for the inputs and the dissemination of output. So these are some key stakeholders in the task environment, and they are specific to industry. The customers of different industries have their own different requirements and needs, and that is why they are different from one industry to another industry. Every industry must take care of these elements and changes that are happening in these aspects of the task environment, because any shift in the preferences of the customer's need, or the number of competition, or the nature of goods and services that will be offered as a substitute, or the complementary products that are available in a market, in terms of the utility of the product, or the extended uses of a product, or the terms and conditions and the nature of contracts with the suppliers and distributors, moreover availability of the suppliers and distributors to ensure that the right thing reach to the right people at the right time. So to ensure a balance on all of these parameters which are external to the organization but are directly influencing the decision making of an organization, they are very critical. The stronger these elements are, the lower the organization is in a position to bargain. So a firm has to be strategically active in terms of being aware of the changes happening in these forces and institutions. In addition to, also a manager has to develop certain strategic rapport with these clients and customers and parties involved, which are external to the organization, so that a balanced negotiation of terms and conditions could also be made if there is any need of doing so. So the awareness of the environmental changes and coping up with those changes with strategic planning is the essence of an efficient management. Let us understand that how effectiveness of an organization and the industry competition could be traced. So there is a framework to get an idea of how attractive an industry is and how the competitiveness could be raised, or what is the scope of competitors to enter into a market. Because we understand that if there is a profit in an industry, there will be more people who will be drawn towards that industry and they would like to join it. And for the purpose of making profit out of the attractiveness of the industry, so the existing firms which are catering to the needs of the demands in the market are going to compromise on their output, because of the reason more people will join the industry, and obviously they are going to share the profit. So the profit of the existing firms will decline. To understand this, there is a kind of framework which has been suggested by Michael Porter. So this framework basically gives us the idea of the attractiveness and the competitive status in a market and industry. Let us look at each of these forces. So one of the forces is the bargaining power of the buyers. Now from this element, it is important to reflect on that how much power do the customers have, the ultimate buyers of the goods and services of an industry, that how much power they do have. The more critical the factors are, the lesser the organization is in a position to negotiate their terms and conditions, and they're going to offer goods and services as per their choice. So each of these factors are very important and affects directly the decision making of an organization. The first factor, if we see, is the bargaining power of the buyer. Now, buyers are the ultimate customers to whom the organization is serving. The more number of buyers are attractive for an industry to serve, because there will be huge demand. But let's say if there is a niche market and the number of customers are less, now in that position it is very difficult for an organization to take a upper hand in terms of deciding strategies related to products and services, because they will be more keenly to serve the changing demand of the customers. Herein the customers will have an advantage because they are lesser in number. So the more number of customers are there, or you could say the larger the market is, the lesser they have the ability to influence the decision, because the demand will be in bulk. So when there is a higher number of customers, the firms will have the advantage of that, because they will be catering to the need of the bulk of the buyers. Moreover, if there are number of competitors which are available, and we could see that there are number of products and services which are similar to the products and services that a firm is offering. In that case also, we could say that the firm is having a lesser of the advantage. So the more stronger this kind of factor is, the lesser the firm is going to be exploiting the opportunity. And the weaker these kind of forces are, the firm will be in the more advantageous position, wherein they have an opportunity to serve the market based on their terms and conditions. So we could say that the number of competitors, the size of the market, another is the availability of goods and services of similar nature. Now, if the goods and services of similar nature are easily available, then the switching cost of customers from one product to another product will be less, because the kind of time, attention and cost which is required to switch from one product to another will be easy. So if these factors are there, if there are higher number of competitors, if there are more goods and services of the similar nature available, if the size of the market is small, then we could say that the buyers are in a more stronger position, while the firm is in a weaker position. But the vice versa situation, the firms will be more stronger. So each of these factors, when they are weaker, the firms are more stronger and they can use it as an opportunity, while if these forces which have been discussed in this framework, if they are they are stronger, the firms are less in a position to negotiate and deal the market as per their terms and conditions. So another factor is the supplier power. Herein we have to understand that how much power do the suppliers have. Now again, we have to reflect on that if there are less number of suppliers who are delivering a superior quality of raw material. So in that case, obviously we will get an idea that the suppliers are more stronger, and the firms will be in a weaker position. So they cannot decide the terms and conditions of this kind of contracts with the suppliers. Herein the suppliers will be more powerful. Or if there are high number of suppliers, but they are delivering inferior quality of raw material, in that case also we could say the firms do not have better options to get the raw material from. So if any of these factors are there, or there are more rival firms, so there is a chance that the suppliers are going to shift to the other because of the competitive nature of the market. So in that case, we could say that the suppliers will be more stronger, and herein it will be disadvantageous for a firm to compete. So we could say various factors that will make the suppliers more stronger is when they are less in number and supply quality raw material. They are stronger in their capacity, while if they are high in number and delivering low quality inputs. Herein the firms will not have more options to select and go for better raw material suppliers. Or we could say the competitiveness is high, there are more number of rivals, competitiveness is high, and there are more number of firms which are available competing with each other. So in that case also the suppliers are more stronger. So these will make the supplier power more high. Another factor is the threats of the substitutes. Now, of course, when the switching cost of a customer to shift from one product to the other product consumption is easy because of its availability, because the time required to search for another product is less for a consumer. The kind of products which are available are lesser in cost. Let us say it will be more economic option for a customer to shift, and it when they have a more variety of option to choose, all of these factors will make the weak position of the organization to survive in the competition, because there are more alternatives available for the customers. So we could say the threat of the substitute will be powerful if there are less number of customers in a market, if there are high alternatives, options to select available, the switching cost is low, the kind of effort that the customers have to make to search for the other products or to find better alternatives, or to just out of curiosity they want to switch, and it is easier for them because the product is not of that much of superior quality that the existing firms are serving. So it is easier for customers to shift from one product to another product. In all of these situations, we could say that the substitute threat will be more stronger. And if an organization have to become more stronger in this case of situation, then they have to serve the needs of the customers in the very superior way, so that the alternatives which are available will not be chosen by the customers, no matter the number of customers will be large or less, but the kind of quality of services and the products which are being served are of so high quality that they would not prefer to switch, and maybe they can prefer the product of the existing firms even at the higher cost. But that is only possible when the products and services are so much of differentiation from the other products which are available. So when the products are undifferentiated and it is easy for customers to shift, obviously they are going to shift to the substitute. So there is always a threat of that substitution. Moreover, the competitive rivalry is another very strong factor to understand the attractiveness of an industry. The number of competitors which are available in a market, or we could say when there are less barriers to entry, the terms or the regulations in a market scenario is not very much controlled or restricted. If the regulatory norms are easy and the competitive firms can enter the market. So we could say when there are substitutes available, or when there are less of the barriers to entry, when the customers' demands are declining for the existing products and services. These could be the factor that paves the way for the competitors to enter into a market, because they understand that the existing firms are not able to serve the need of the customers, or there are less regulations in terms of entering into a market. The regulatory requirement of the environment is less. There are easy alternatives that could be possibly made and served to the market. So all of these factors are responsible for making these factors stronger in terms of competitiveness, and the existing firms will go in a weaker position because they are less in a position to address the needs of the existing demand in the market. So when the existing firms are enjoying the economies of scale, there are less chances for the competitors to enter to the market, because their existing firms will be in a more stronger position. Moreover, we could say that the barriers are weak in terms of moreover, we could say that the barriers to entry are also strong. The regulations in the market in terms of the industry entry is very strict or very difficult to enter to the market, or the products are so much undifferentiated, the existing products are enjoying the brand loyalty of a customer. So these could be the factors that will thread the new entrants to enter into the market. The more the existing firms are able to serve the need of the customers in a better and a qualitative way, the lesser there are chances for the competitors to enter. So we could say that some of the barriers to entry will be the economies of scale for the existing firms, or another reason could be the brand loyalty, wherein we assume that the customers who are using the products and services of the existing firm serving them is too much loyal for the brand, that any of the new competitor, even if they enter the market, they are not going to prefer. And also the switching cost is high. So when the switching cost is high, the threat to the new entrants will be high, because the people or the customers or the consumers who are using the products and services from the existing firms will find it costlier to shift from one product to another product consumption, or the new products which are available to them for the purpose of consumption. So if these factors in terms of the barriers to entry are high, it will be difficult for the new entrants to enter into the market, and the existing firms will be in a more stronger position to capitalize these kind of situations as an opportunity to exploit. While in the other case, if these factors are low and the existing firms are not able to serve the need of the market in terms of undifferentiated product, so if these kinds of factors are stronger, then there will be more barriers to entry and the new firms cannot enter into the market despite of the attractiveness of the industry. And the existing firms can enjoy and exploit the opportunity in their favor. While if these forces are weaker, then it will act as a threat for the existing firms. So we could say that these 5 forces will help us to get an idea that how attractive an industry is and what is the nature of competition that exists in a market. Moreover, the barriers to entry will help us to get an idea that how easy it is to enter into a market. So the rivals and the competitors who are hoping to enter into the market, they have to understand and read the nature of the regulations and the barriers to entry. Also, they have to understand the existing firms' capability to serve the need of the customers, the brand loyalty, the switching cost. All of these are some very important factors that have to be understood while entering into a market. So before a firm decides to bank upon some kind of opportunity to exploit in terms of making profit, it is also very important to reflect upon the existing factors that defines the competitiveness in the market. Now, at one end, when we have understand the barriers to entry, that how they are going to affect the competitiveness in the industry and how it can affect the decision making of a manager, it is also very important for a manager to decide and strategize accordingly in terms of adjusting to the process of these kinds of shifts happening into the market. This takes us to the concept of the mechanism of adjustment process. Now, adjustment process is nothing but the speed with which a manager is able to cope up with the changes happening into the demand and supply mechanism in a market. Now, speed of this adjustment process is dependent partly on the barriers to entry and barriers to exit. Now, when we understand that the barriers to entry through this 5 forces model, let us also understand the factors of barrier to exit. Now, barrier to exit is obviously opposite to barrier to entry. Now, barriers to exit are the opposite to barriers to entry. So, there are certain factors that have to be understood in this reference point, that how we can get a better idea of what could be the possible factors that are reducing the willingness of a firm to produce more despite of the demand and supply situations in a market. And even if the demand is going low, but the firm cannot stop production for various reasons. So those factors are something that can affect directly. Let us understand each of these factors. One of the possible factors is the regulations of the government. Now we have to appreciate the fact that the government put certain kind of restrictions for certain firms and industries for the benefit of consumers at large, and firms cannot reduce the production, cut down the production capacity just for a reason that the demand is declining and they are not able to make profit. So it is for the larger interest, the government sometimes makes certain kind of regulations and certain kind of strict conditions for firms if they are likely to close down their businesses and serving the need of the market. So basically one of the strong factor that can affect the decision of a firms to not exit the market could be the regulations of the government. The other factor which is very strong in this reference of barrier to exit is the unwillingness of the firm themselves. So when the firms are unwilling themselves because they are hoping that the demand in future may rise. So unwillingness of firms in anticipation of the demand, rise in demand in future, is another possible reason that the firms cannot exit the market. And moreover, if the fixed cost of shutting down a plant or announcing a layoff to employees is high, so when the cost burden on the firm is higher, the firms are more reluctant to reduce the capacity of their production. Fixed cost is high to shut down business. So these are some possible factors that helps us to get an idea of that there could be also barriers to exit. So when we are referring to one of the point that how barriers to entry can be controlled by understanding the forces in the market, this is also a very appreciative factor to reflect upon, that barriers to entry are also very important factors that affect the decision making directly. Now, through this mechanism of excess demand and excess supply, let us understand that how an opportunity can shift from an opportunity to a transitory opportunity, and moreover a threat into a transitory threat. As we could see in this image, when the excess demand is there and there are high barriers to entry are there. So this could be the possible situation wherein the competitors are less in a position to enter into a market. That means this is a kind of an opportunity for the existing firms to deliver undifferentiated products to the customers and serve their needs by delivering them some quality products and services. Herein the firms are better in an opportunity to exploit this situation in their favor and gain more profit, because here the competitiveness could be reduced because of the reason that the entry barriers are very high and demand is too high. So to serve the growing demand, a firm can consider this as an opportunity in their favor and can make more profit by utilizing this opportunity. While in the second case, we could see that when the demand is high but the barriers to entry are low. Now in this case, more and more competitors can enter. More products will be available to customers as an alternative, so their switching cost will become easier for customers to move from one product to another product. The brand loyalty can hit in this situation. So here in this case, we could see that the firm has to really deliver and push on this situation in their favor by delivering some undifferentiated products, because if their products are not differentiated from the competitors' product, it will be difficult for them to develop brand loyalty and win the confidence of the customers. So in this case, we have to understand that the firms have to offer differentiated products to their customers to handle this kind of competitiveness in the market, and the switching cost should be so high for a customer that they do not prefer to switch. In that case, only this opportunity can remain an opportunity for the existing firms. Otherwise, the competitive who are easy now to enter into the market because of the low barriers to entry are going to share the pie of the profit, and obviously the profit in terms of the existing firms is going to decline. Because of the more output that will be generated in terms of the number of competitors that are entering into the market. In the second case, let us understand it from the supply framework. When there is excess of the supply, now we understand excess of supply could be when the existing firms are able to deliver the products. Moreover, there are also competitors, and there could also be certain kind of rival firms which are offering the similar nature of goods and services. So there are many alternatives and choices available in a market. So the supply is more. Now in that case, obviously this is a kind of a threatful situation for the firms to compete, and they would like to exit. But in that case, we also have to refer to the barriers to exit, that why these firms cannot exit despite of the situation of the falling demand. Now, when the supply is obviously higher, it will be difficult for firms to exit. In this case, when they have to survive the competition, they have to keep on upgrading their businesses and quality of the products and services, so that they would be able to cater to the need of this kind of supply, and they will be able to manage this supply mechanism, so that the demand of the product will rise in the future course of time, because if the barriers to entry are because if the barriers to exit are high, in that case a firm cannot deal on with the situation by reducing their capacity to produce. So they have to serve to the need of the existing demands, but at the same time they have to offer some kind of quality goods and services to convert this threat into a opportunity. Otherwise this is a very threatful situation for companies, and in the longer term they are going to pay a higher cost for this, because in that case the kind of resources will be getting utilized, and if the products will not be taken by the customers and they will not be consumed and bought into the market, it will be difficult for them. So if they are better able to negotiate the terms and conditions with the existing suppliers and distributors, this kind of situation could be converted into lesser of the threat as compared to the higher threatful situation, the way in which it is. Now, the second situation could be when the barriers to exit are low, when there are lesser of the strict conditions of the government are there, that if the supply is too high, when there are too much of competitors and the product is not so much differentiated, plus there is no demand into the market of the particular product. So we could say that a threat could be reduced with the possible efforts from the firm, and the firm can improve the way in which they are serving to the needs of the customers. Moreover, when some of the rivals firm can exit the market, in that case also the firm can capitalize this situation in their favor by offering better services and goods to the existing demand to the existing market. So we could say that this mechanism of adjustment could be done wisely, and these kinds of threats and these kinds of opportunities could be coped well if the manager is not just aware of the situation and trends that are happening into the market forces, but also is able to capitalize these opportunities in their favor by strategizing better, not just only referring to their own capacity of the resources that they have, plus understanding the demands in the market, plus they have to resonate to the demand of the market, the shift in the demand, and balance the supply, plus moreover they have to also develop certain kind of network and strategic alliances with the clients and the suppliers and the distributors, so that they will be in a better position to serve the competitiveness of the market. And in addition to that, the barriers to entry and barriers to exit understanding is very important for managers to decide some strategic decisions for their firm's benefit. So the other component of external environment is the general environment. Now, general environment, as the name indicates, is general for all the industries and is not common for any specific industry, unlike the task environment. We have reflected on the task environment and its components, at how it is important for a firm to focus on their customers, suppliers, and competitors. Now, that is obviously specific to every industry and they are unique in nature, but general environment is something which is general and it's common for all the industries. The industries could be of different types, different nature of services and products that they are dealing with, but some factors remain same for all. There are also some of the national factors. We could say that every country will have their own general environment and they have these factors which are common to all. But how the mechanism and how the kind of understanding of these factors will help organizations to decide and plan better for their organization decision making, that is where the essence of management lies. Now, some kind of factors which defines the general environment, they are broadly encompassing the elements which are also embedded into the task environment. So we could say that it is a macro level environment. The factors that we could see in this image are some factors that defines this acronym called PESTEL, and it is sometimes also popularly referred to as the PESTEL analysis or a PESTEL framework. Now, what are these PESTEL elements and what are these components? Let us understand one by one. A general environment is composed of these 7 factors, which is political, economic, social, technological, environmental, and legal. That makes up altogether this acronym called PESTEL. So the political factors are those factors that refers to the rules and regulations of the government of any nation. There could be various kinds of laws which will be passed by the government of an economy, and those laws and regulations affects the functioning of the firms. So laws and regulations of any of the political party in a nation affects the functioning of an organization. So let us say if any of the law is being passed related to undiscriminatory practices of the laborers, so obviously all of the firms and organizations of employment setting have to address this kind of change and incorporate that into their policies and rules and regulations of their routine operations. So any political situation or the law or a condition or a regulation which has been passed by the political party of any of the economy, that has to be considered for the purpose of decision making in an organization. This factor cannot be directly affecting the functioning of an organization, but obviously indirectly through some kind of policy changes in the organizational working framework. Now the other component is economic factor. So economic factor are those kind of factors that defines the well-being of the economy of a nation. So economic growth of an economy is the well-being of the economy, that in being understood through certain elements that could be the interest rate that are being followed for the purpose of lending and accepting deposits. So the interest rates will affect the decision making of trade of firms between their suppliers and different parties and the clients that they deal with, the kind of investors. So these decisions are dependent upon the economic factors. Moreover, what is the inflation and deflation situation? Here, these kind of factors will obviously affect deflation. Now, these kind of factors will obviously affect the decision making related to fixing the cost of the product and services, moreover the labor cost and the other kind of costs which are involved and incurred during the process of transformation of input into the output and the reverse cycle of the business. So, these kinds of economic factors that will affect the decision making of a firm. In addition to that, the growth rate of the economy, the GDP of the economy in a nation is very important factor to understand that how the well-being of economy could be understood. Moreover, what are the currency rate exchange? That will also be important to decide upon various decisions related to the trade with the different countries also, that how the nation's currency is going to be termed according to the global exchange rates. So basically the economic factors affects the decision making of an organization indirectly by devising certain policies, by taking care of certain kind of cost and prices of the products and services. The economic status of the consumers are all dependent upon the economic well-being of a nation. So the customers' choices and preferences are also another very important factor that helps us to get an idea towards the third component of this PESTEL framework, that is the social and demographic factors. So when we talk about the social factors, it denotes the customers at large, the society at large, the people which are collectively known as the social factors of any society. We could say the values, the choices, the demographic factors of a nation, which comprises of the age, gender, their social status, the living standard of people in a society, because based upon that obviously they are going to demand goods and services. The higher the living standard of the people in a nation, the higher will be the choices and demand for the products and services. Moreover, the psychographic factors which are very important in terms of understanding the taste and preferences and the choices of people in a society. So the social factors are very important. The demographic and the psychographic factors collectively will help organization to get an idea of the demand of the market, that how the customers are expecting the products and services in a business framework. Moreover, the pattern of the age and shift in the age composition of the customers at large. Now we could say more of the younger customers, they demand, their demands are different as compared to the people of the different age groups. So the kind of market segmentation is possible because of the better understanding of this element of general environment. So firms have to have a kind of knowledge of these factors which are there in a pestle framework to get a better idea of strategizing better policies for their products and services. They can design better products and services by proactively becoming aware about the factors which are changing. The next component of a general environment is the technological factor. Now, the way in which the technology is growing and how radically it has changed the way in which goods and services can be improvised, and the way in which the organizations are delivering their services is completely transformed. It has completely changed the way the traditional organizations used to function. So the level of technological growth accepted and incorporated into the functioning of an organization, or also how much the economic level the technology and infrastructure development has taken place, and what emphasis the economy pays on to the aspects of the technological growth and development, that is very, very essential for organizations to grow. The other factor is the environmental factor. So we have to understand that the global needs are changing, and based on that, the requirements of every nation in every country is more towards the environmental concern. There are reasons of the climate change which are there. The concerns of sustainability is there, which is the basic requirement of firms these days to respond to the sustainability aspects of the work and practices. They are more sensitive towards the implications of their work and activities in an organization. They are more concerned for the future generations. They are more paying attention towards the stakeholders' needs, and not just only the direct customers and employees and the people who are directly involved, but also who are indirectly a stakeholder to the organization. Let us say their local communities or the external bodies which are fighting for the rights of the people, planet, or different kind of associations that work for the trade rules and regulations. So the environmental conditions are also directing organizations to broaden their understanding of serving needs, not just to their direct stakeholders but also to the indirect stakeholders. The way in which organizations were thinking of making profit has transformed because of the environmental concerns, and now the organizations are becoming more responsive to the societal needs and the environmental needs, in which they are taking more care of how they can impact the society and how they can take care of the depleting resources and conserve them and take initiative in making society a better place to live. And further, we could see that the last factor in this framework is the legal factor, that defines the laws, the judicial policies, frameworks, the kind of acts which are being passed, that could be related to the employment acts, that could be related to the safety and occupation acts. It could be related to the accountability and governance of the organization framework, how they report back, the kind of transparency that the organizations are supposed to ensure, especially in terms of the technological revolution, the way in which the organizations are exposed to more of the data related to the stakeholders. So they have to also ensure the privacy of the stakeholders in that sense. So while taking care of the transparency, an organization also have to be responsive towards the laws and regulations related to the data privacy, and all of these kinds of different types of aspects to which the legal and the lawful requirement is there. The company has to abide, the organizations have to abide to these kinds of legal provisions and amendments time to time. So an awareness of this kind of framework will obviously going to help a manager to decide better. So these factors will not be affecting directly the decision making, but obviously indirectly an awareness of these factors is very, very important for managers not just to get an idea of what these factors are, but also how they are changing and what these changes can offer them. They can convert them into a kind of an opportunity. Plus, if they are not going to utilize these kinds of changes, it is going to become a threat for the organizations. So it is not just only that the manager would become aware of these factors, but he should also be capable to analyze these factors and incorporate them into the vision of their goal setting and delegation of the task. Now, after getting an understanding of what internal environment is, what kind of constraints an internal environment can pose, moreover, what is the external environment and the components of the external environment, which is industry specific and common to all industries in terms of the task environment and the general environment, what kind of constraints an external environment can pose to a managerial decision making? Well, of course, if the manager is not able to incorporate these kinds of knowledge that he gained from being aware what is there into these external factors and how these external factors are influencing the decision making of organizations, in that case the organizations will not be able to sustain the competition, because obviously slowly and gradually these macro factors have to be incorporated into the micro vision of the companies, and it has to be incorporated to the daily functioning of an organization. So if in case the organization fails to apprehend and recognize these factors and the changes in these forces, it will be difficult for an organization to sustain the competition. Moreover, the kind of conformity related to the legal aspects and the regulatory environment is also very essential for organizations, because they cannot be unlawful in terms of surviving into the nation. So there are various factors that may influence the decision making, and they are very instrumental in the successful functioning of the organization. So these are some of the additional references for you all to refer to. Some of the book references are there, and an additional reading is also there if you really want to explore more and learn about that, what the framework and how it functions. And kindly go through these kinds of readings. It is going to add up to your knowledge of understanding in addition to this lecture. Thank you.